Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled Ron DeSantis, Savior or Snake? It's kind of a rhetorical question. Alright, anyway, what I wanted to follow up on yesterday's video regarding Ronald Dion DeSantis, the fake governor of Florida. There's still much concealed about him. We don't know which secret societies that he may be a member of or semi-secret societies that he has alleged to have joined at Yale University. Remember, there's a distinction between semi-secret society, like the Knickerbocker Club, like the Bohemian Club, like the Olympic Club, like the Bankers Club, like the Pacific Union Club, like the Jonathan Club. Those are well known, meaning they're not secret. However, they do have secret meetings that you're not invited to since you're not a member, right? So they're semi-secret. But then there's other societies like the Pilgrims Society and others, 33 Degree of Freemasons, Knights of Malta, for example, that are sort of deeper, darker secrets. They're still semi-secret, and then of course there's the completely in the dark secret societies. So one of my subscribers gave me a morsel of information about Ron DeSantis that's really devoided from his biographies. So I wanted to bring it up. He had a younger sister, Christina Marie DeSantis. She's 7 years younger than Ron. She's the only sibling. Ron DeSantis' father is also named Ron DeSantis. The installer of surveillance devices on people's televisions, known as the Nielsen rating system. That was Ron DeSantis' father's job. And you should know that Christine Marie DeSantis went to Florida State University, and then she took a job at KMPG, which I used to know as Pete Marwick, and Pete Marwick Accountants. They do have a consulting division, and it's alleged that Christine worked in the consulting division, not the auditing division. Who knows what's true? I cannot verify that. What I can tell you is somehow, some way, she met a gentleman by the name of Stephen Patsiewicz, who's a London banker, and he worked at the time for Courts and Company, located at 440 Strand in central London, not too far from the Blackfriars Bridge where Roberto Calfi was murdered, hung by an orange rope with a love knot, in central London, near the Thames River. Anyway, Coates and Company does private wealth management for the uber wealthy, and Stephen Patsiewicz was a private banker there, and he and Christine Marie DeSantis had some sort of a romance. They became engaged. They were living in London, and on May 12th, 2015, Christine Marie DeSantis died of a pulmonary thromboembolism, aka heart attack. And what can I tell you? She was 30 years old. That's right, I said she was 30 years old. And then later they wanted to tell you she had a tumor on her ovary, as if that has anything whatsoever to do with a pulmonary thromboembolism. That's sort of like someone hitting me upside the head with a ball-peen hammer and then mentioning that maybe I had chicken pox or I died of COVID, when it was the hammer, right? She didn't die of a tumor on her ovary. She didn't die of a stubbed toe or an ingrown toenail. She died of a heart attack. So why don't we just stick to how she died, right? And she's 30 years old. So kind of unusual. Again, this is pre-COVID bioweaponry jab. So kind of sort of looks like maybe this is like a Janis Joplin murder rebranded as a heroin overdose. Or only in this case, they branded it as cancer. A cancerous tumor on her ovary. She's 30 years old. So anyway, that's suspicious, right? And of course, it's also suspicious that Ron DeSantis doesn't talk about it, really. I can't wait till Ron DeSantis runs for the presidency so that we can have a lot of fake interviews. Because you know what? They're not going to talk about his dead sister either. All right. So, but at least you'll know. At least you'll know about it. I wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to bring up a little discussion here about what Stephen Pazewitz, the company that he was working for at the time that Ron DeSantis' sister died of a heart attack at age 30, Coots and Company. He then left that company to go work for the Assembly Rooms, which produces propaganda films. It's only half a mile away from Coots and Company in central London. And I'll get to that in a moment. Let's see. Let's stick on Coots and Company. All right, so it's a London headquartered private bank and wealth manager. It was founded in 1692, and it is the world's 8th oldest bank. It's the 8th oldest bank in the world, and this is where Ron DeSantis' sister's fiancé was a private banker. The bank, which was to become Coots and Company, was originally a goldsmith banker's shop. It was formed in 1692 by a young Scot goldsmith banker. It sounds typical. His name was John Campbell of Lundy, Scotland. John Campbell, gee, that's a familiar name, right? That's the fraud that's on YouTube that has 2.5 million viewers, subscribers. He has 2.5 million subscribers. He has tens of millions of views. He calls himself a medical doctor. He says, Dr. John Campbell. He's not. He has a nursing administration degree. He has 0 clinical experience. He wasn't even a nurse. He's a nurse PhD in administration. What would he know about COVID? What would he know about hospitals? Nothing. He taught nurses for a short while. He never even worked in hospital administration. And he's not a medical doctor. Yet 99% of his subscribers believe that John Campbell is a medical doctor. No, he's not. He's a misinformation, disinformation, Google platform, the World Health Organization approved fraud. I know because I get banned on that platform, and John Campbell has 2.5 million subscribers, and he's a fraud. And Google endorses fraud. Well, anyway, the guy who founded Coots and Company's name was John Campbell, a goldsmith turned banker. Follow the yellow brick road. John Campbell mercifully died in 1712, which left the business to his family. The dominant force in his family was his son-in-law, George Middleton, who would become his partner in 1708. During Middleton's stewardship, the bank was buffeted by one crisis after another. It threatened the stability of the entire banking system, and John Law, the comptroller of France's finances, owed a great deal of money to the bank when Mississippi Company's bubble burst in 1720 and the English stock market collapsed the same year. Stability for Coots and Company did not return until 1735 when John Law, his son, George Campbell, there's that name again, was also a partner. Thomas Coots, 1761. James took his brother Thomas Coots into the business, which was then named Thomas and James Coots. Anyways, a lot of boring history with this bank. All you need to know is that the monarchy undoubtedly banks there, and it's been presumed that perhaps Christine DeSantis might have been auditing the books over there. I'm here to tell you, since I have personal experience with private banking at the highest level where they have security cipher code locks, that these types of organizations, Coots and Company, or all the major banks that all have offshore banking divisions within their maritime law structured military, they're not subject to audit. Auditors are not permitted in there. And I know because I entered that area, and I'm not going to get into the particulars of how I cracked the code, so to speak, But anyway, I ended up being invited to a 10:30 a.m. lunch at the Knights of Malta clubhouse up on the 16th floor, and career counseled by the partner in charge of the bank that had that Grand Cayman accounting division and the managing director partner of my office. So I had the two most senior partners of my office talk to me for 90 minutes about my career while they plied me with whiskey at 10:30 in the morning, and then told me I was a cathedral builder, but I was hired as a bricklayer, and I should just stick to my status as a bricklayer and my pay grade. In other words, I'm not being paid a lot of money to be looking at the architect's plans and discussing the notes with the civil engineer. Just lay the bricks and go home. Anyway, so I didn't die of a pulmonary thromboembolism, okay? I just had a little whiskey and was promoted after that meeting. I got a little promotion, a little pay raise, and reassigned to Los Angeles. That's how you handle whistleblowers, right? You give them a raise. And not to mention, I did need my sign-off of my state license, which hadn't happened yet. So they made me wait another 18 months for that. Kept me under control. Pacification and control. Believe me, they know how to do it. So the ultimate pacification and control is like what they did with Abigail Folger, Sharon Tate, and Christine DeSantis, which is that they murdered them at a young age. I'm laughing. It's not funny. It's what we call in the business gallows humor. I have to laugh because I have chemtrail attacks going on over my head every day. So it's either laugh or cry, and I don't think I should be crying on my podcast. All right, anyway, wanted to tell you that Ron DeSantis had a sister who kind of sort of looks like she was murdered at age 30 in central London. She died in the hospital. She was in the hospital a few nights before she passed away. I guess she had some kind of a stroke or lightheadedness. You should know also that Ron DeSantis' experience with the prisoner dilemma game wasn't just limited to Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, where he has been accused by Mansour Gaddafi as being a torturer, a criminal who orchestrated and participated in the torturing of prisoners at Guantanamo Bay who were pleading for their lives. He was sent, remember, he worked in Guantanamo Bay from March 2006 until January 2007, which is 11 months there in Cuba. But then he took a break, and then in the fall, which I'm going to call September 2007, he was sent to Baghdad, Iraq, and then assigned over to, he was assigned to work with Navy SEAL Commander Dane Thorleifson, and Ron DeSantis would have been just turned 29 years old, and they sent him over to Fallujah, which is 43 miles to the west of Baghdad, where they have a detention center. You should know that Fallujah on the Euphrates River was a Jewish academy education center for centuries. So it's basically a hub for Judaism. And they have a detention center there, and Ron DeSantis spent time there. I don't know exactly how much time he spent there, but of course now he's experienced in enhanced interrogation techniques. He's also experienced as being a fake lawyer representing your Geneva Convention rights, which I can tell you as a non-lawyer is that you have none. You have no rights. Look, if they're giving you enemas and they're giving you force feedings and they're putting you in solitary confinement in darkness, if they're locking you into fixed positions so you can't move, if they're making the temperature high or low, then you have no rights. If you are held in detention for 14 years, having never been charged with a crime, never been arraigned, you have no rights, okay? I mean, is that complicated? Do you have to be Ron DeSantis that went to Harvard Law School and judge advocacy, indoctrination training to understand that you have no Geneva Convention rights? There's no such thing as a Geneva Convention. Just like there's no such thing as a governor of Florida or a governor of California or a governor of New York, There is no such thing as the United States Constitution. There's no such thing as a Bill of Rights. There's no such thing as the Geneva Convention. There's no such thing. It's fake. It's a fake document. What there is banks, scions, and creepy people that carry out the anthropology, social engineering, and torture and torment of innocent civilians. That's what we have. That's what chemtrails are. That's the prisoner dilemma game. When you can't do anything about your situation, your plight, you should know that when Stephen Pasiewicz left Coote's company, he went to the assembly rooms, which is located, I got the address right here. Well, okay. It's at 58 Firth Street, London. 58 Frith, Frith Street in London. It's only half a mile away from the private bank, Cootes and Company. It's very close. It's a half a mile from the London School of Economics and Political Science. You know, where most of these fake leaders and fake bankers go to the London School of Economics and Political Science. Keyword there is political science. That's code for how do you lie to the masses so that they would believe your lies. That's where you talk about fractional banking with a straight face without laughing hysterically, since there is no such thing as fractional banking. There is only debasing of a fiat currency. That's real. Debasing of a fiat currency. Look, I have evidence that I can submit to the court, okay? It's called The Wizard of Oz. It's called Dorothy Gale. It's called Judy Garland portrayal of Dorothy Gale in The Wizard of Oz, where her dog Toto pulled the curtain back and we discovered that there was no great and powerful Wizard of Oz. It didn't exist. There's a little old man on a stepladder pulling the levers, blowing the fireballs out of the nostrils of the Moloch Lionhead. That was real. But there was no fractional banking collateral. The yellow brick road wasn't constructed with real gold bullion. And the ruby slippers weren't silver, like they're supposed to be silver. All right, anyway, I just thought you'd enjoy the fact that Ron DeSantis' sister appears to have been put down, perhaps as a reinforcement validation that Ron DeSantis is completely and utterly owned. Look, no democratically elected politician has ever saved any person in any nation, in any bank district in the history of the world. Abraham Lincoln didn't save us, okay? And John Kennedy didn't save us. Dwight Eisenhower didn't save us, okay? Harry Truman didn't save us. Richard Nixon didn't save us. Lyndon Johnson didn't save us. Gerald Ford didn't save us. And look at all the fake leaders that came to national prominence due to assassination. There would never be a Dianne Goldman Feinstein as a senator from the fake state of California were it not for the murder and assassination of George Moscone, the mayor of CIA San Francisco. You'd never know who Dianne Feinstein was, who went to the Sacred Heart Order convent and then to Stanford University. You'd never know who she was. Her 3 Jewish husbands, you'd never know who they were. All right? And you'd never know who Gerald Ford was, okay? Although he was on the Warren Commission, and he became the President of the United States because they assassinated Richard Nixon with the CIA fake burglaries, which there were 3 burglaries. We only talk about 1. But there were multiple burglaries. And when I say burglaries, I mean the installation of listening equipment and or photocopying of records like at Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatry office. I don't really think they did that. That was sort of a fake out because, you know, Daniel Ellsberg is clandestine service, fake whistleblower, Rand Corporation all the way. And a Harvard master's degree and a Harvard undergraduate degree, much like Abigail Folger had. Except Abigail got retired at age 25, and we still have to deal with the Jewish fake whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg, just like, you know, Noam Chomsky, all these, and Alan Dershowitz, another Jewish person that you should not listen to. All right, that's it for today. I thought you should know that I'm going to join Monsieur Adafi sentiments and tell you that no, Ron DeSantis is not going to save the nation from COVID, from mandates, from forced vaccinations. He's not going to save you from centralized bank currency, digital currency. He's not going to do anything except what he's told to do. He's going to follow orders or else. He knows that the or else is you could end up like your sister, Christina Marie DeSantis. All right? So, anyway, take that for what it's worth. It's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Have a great day. Please share my videos because I am shadow banned. Take care.